For so long, I thought I was studying the right way, but the reality was that it was completely backwards. I had my exams recently, and every time I got stressed about having little time, what happened was I would just jump into doing more questions, more of the reading, more of the notes, and the more I did those things, the less I actually took in. And I know I'm not the only one there. I see people time and time again. I know that you are falling into this trap without even realizing it, maybe. So today I'm going to show you how to break free from revising in this surface level way that everyone else does, so that you can truly relate and understand the material at a deeper level without having to spend even half the amount of time you do when you're normally revising or spamming questions. But before we dive in, something that's blown my mind recently is that 72% of you who regularly watch this channel aren't subscribed yet. So could I please ask you for a favor before we start? If you've learned from these videos over the years, if they've made an impact, and if you want to support the community that we're building, simple way that you could do that is by hitting the subscribe button down below. And if you can do that, my commitment to you is that I will do everything in my power to continue sharing, teaching, listening to you, and helping each and every one of you to the best of my ability. Anyways, thank you so much. Now, the biggest issue that I had during my exams was that half the time I was under this pressure, this time pressure of trying to get through so many topics in such a short amount of time. So I'd actually skip the smart way to actually learn the content just so that I could do 200 questions of Ops and Gynae or read through the 12 topics that I planned to do today. When the reality was that the fact that I actually didn't learn the smart way before I jumped into the questions or just did a bunch of reading. The fact that I didn't do that, it meant that it took triple the amount of time to get through the very same content just because I didn't actually start by properly learning using the smart way. The topics that I actually did spend my time learning deeply, building a base for in less amount of time, I remembered them almost perfectly for the exams. The things I learned a year and a half, 2 years ago is still engraved in my head because I learned it in a very specific way that doesn't take too long. Now, I've been talking about this smart way for the whole video so far, so let me actually explain what it is. The way everyone's taught to learn is to go through the page top to bottom, reading through each point like line by line, and then trying to memorize that line, trying to understand, trying to force it in. How is that going to work? When you're reading, you're neither understanding it nor are you memorizing. So what type of learning is it accomplishing? If that's how you start, you're wasting your time. Instead, what you need to be doing is going through multiple related topics and learning each one of them by comparing them to each other, not just reading through them one by one again and again. You pick 2 to 4, usually 3 topics that are related to each other and learn them by going through them side by side. Let's break that down even more. Let's talk about why it actually works. When I'm doing the 3 conditions I have up on here, all I'm doing for the first 30 seconds is identifying what each of these topics are and how they work. That's it. I was doing the eye conditions today. I chose these 3 conditions to learn together. One is a tear in your retina, one is a blockage of the arteries in your eye, and the other is the blockage of the veins in your eye. Each one of them is causing different symptoms. One is causing symptoms, X amount of symptoms, one is causing Y symptoms, and one is causing X and Z symptoms. And in the first 30 seconds, that's all the learning I'm doing. At this stage, I'm not memorizing. I'm just identifying what each topic is about. Then how do you continue? You continue by comparing the rest of the information within each of these chapters. What I would do here is I would go through the risk factors, the type of people that would get each of these diseases. Is there a difference there? How do you investigate each? Why is there are different things, different scans used for each? How do you manage each? What is the treatment like for each of them? Obviously, I'm studying the basics first throughout, then I'm doing the general concepts, and then I'm moving on to the details once I have a pretty good general idea about how all 3 work and what all 3 involve. And that is what I want you to be doing with each of your topics. And this is a very basic, nice step to start with because it isn't something completely out of the blue. Instead of learning one thing, you're learning 3 things and comparing them. The comparison part is the very important bit that you need to engrave in your learning process, because lining the topics side by side and comparing them instead of doing them one by one will allow you to actually learn them the first time you read it and learn it in a much more intuitive way, because that's how our brain absorbs best. Think of it like looking at 3 similar pictures. You know, the spot the difference pictures. Imagine you have 3 similar pictures right there. Is it going to be effective if you look at one and hyper analyze every single detail in there and then go to the other, hyper hyperanalyze every single detail and they're trying to memorize it and then do the same thing with the third. Obviously not. But of course, when you scan across all three of these images, comparing what you see in each, you will spot the differences immediately. You'll see that there's no tree there. You'll see that the mom's hair is cut short, or the girl's wearing a ribbon on her head, or whatever the difference is. Similarly, when you're relating one fact about a topic to another fact about another topic, you are actively thinking about it in a meta way. You're juggling these two pieces of information, and that process, that like you thinking about, oh, is this similar? Is this different? How does this work? Does it relate to the other thing? Is it even the same? Who knows? You're evaluating the information, and that process of actively evaluating the information, that is learning. Those are the higher order forms of learning in the Bloom's taxonomy, etc., that everyone talks about. This is how you actually do those higher order levels of learning. And that is what will help you remember what you're learning for the very first time for far, far longer. Compared to just like doing what everyone else does, which is like reading one thing at a time, what's that going to do? What's happening in your head when you're doing that? What process is occurring that will allow you to learn? Nothing. The reason people continue to do this reading thing is because the more repetition you do, the more it'll ingrain in your head. And that is, of course, a way of learning. Repetition, it is. But it's not efficient. Why would I spend my entire life just like repeating the concepts again and again when I can learn them a handful of times and secure it in my head? And lastly, the last point about this is if you're someone that makes notes or Anki flashcards while you're going through the information, my recommendation would be to make notes on all three of the topics. And I'll put up a live video of me doing it when I'm making my notes for these conditions, just so that you can see what I mean. Because once you figure out what they are, the way it would work is under topic 1, you'd put what it is. Under topic 2, you'd put what it is again. And then under topic 3, you'd put what it is. Those are the notes you're making. You're making them kind of simultaneously. Rather than making all of the topics for topic 1, then all of them for topic 2, all of them topic 3, you make them side by side, building on them, each of the topics together. That way, there's at least a little bit of comparison. It's not just you passively copying what's on the board anymore, or passively copying the textbook. It's you using this note-taking activity to help you with the relating and the comparing process. Essentially, it just improves the way you're learning, even if you are making the notes. Before we talk about how to take this learning to the next level, do more than just comparing when you're learning, I wanted to quickly show you guys what you may have already noticed. This big desk upgrade. FlexiSpot has kindly sent over their new E9 series standing desk for me to review. It is a high quality, beautiful desk that can be adjusted from sitting to standing in seconds with a smooth, brushless motorized system. You barely hear it. It's sturdy, and even the maple top finish, it's absolutely lovely. And honestly, it's been a dream. Honestly, I used to hate working from home. It was so like static. My setup was kind of boring, and then I just get distracted very easily. But now I'm really looking forward to using this, walking around, getting steps in between. It's already improved my productivity in such a nice and healthy way. Even look at me while filming. This is sick. So if you're in the market for a high quality standing desk to upgrade your life, this is what I'd recommend. Use the link in my description. Check out the rest of their products too. Excellent selection that they have. And let's get back into the video. Now, learning the topics together, relating them in your head, comparing them was the basic solution. And honestly, this is something easy and that everyone should be doing. It should be the minimum you do with your topics when you're revising. Because honestly, it just allows you to properly learn what you're reading in less time, less revisions. It's efficient. But to take that a step further, the advanced solution to our problem, the advanced, smarter way to learn, it means moving away from linear note-taking and then learning to link these topics on paper using non-linear note-taking or mind mapping. Creating a mind map is kind of what we were already trying to accomplish when we were doing the comparison between the different topics and trying to relate them, but it was a lot more vague and it was just in our head that we're doing this comparison. The reason creating a physical mind map is harder, but a lot more effective, is because it has all of those similarities and differences and relations between the concepts of the topics on a page. Those relations and those connections would have to be shown smartly on the page with memorable diagrams and links, because that would actually represent the way we think about these diseases in our heads. And the reason it's so effective is because once you make that mind map once, if you make it once, it's like an investment in your learning, because you will remember that topic, those diseases that you're learning, and you will remember how to think about them maybe forever. Getting good and actually putting the time into creating these mind maps has allowed me to remember the info of the topics for years rather than a few days, and to learn the specific steps to creating these mind maps, I've made an absolutely free, detailed pro mind mapping PDF guide for you guys that you can get for free using the link in the description. It includes, honestly, the entire method, extra details for each step, annotated mind maps of my own, and frequently asked questions that I get in my comments. Just enter your emails in the link below and the free PDF will be hand delivered to your inbox in just a few moments. Something important here that I've learned while coaching students, while speaking to so many of you, is that it isn't wise to jump straight into learning how to create mind maps and then making your entire study system mind mapping. Because mind mapping is like the final boss of trying to learn efficiently. Because it's not really like the mind map, the end product mind map that helps you learn and remember the topic forever. The most effective way to learn is through the process of creating these mind maps. It's the process and the skills you develop along that process that is important to master on your journey to learning efficiently, to learning better, to learning smart. The process is what pushes us to think about how we can group this information smartly, think about how it can be linked, think about how we can display the differences and similarities of different topics on a page. It forces you to decide what is actually going to come up on your exams. What do you actually need to know as a doctor, for me, or for whatever profession you're in? What do you actually need to know about that topic? What is the base that goes on that page that will stay in your head? That is what it forces you to do. It is that process that solidifies the topic in our head. If I just give you my mind maps and tell you how to memorize these, like, that's not useful, obviously. It's me making those mind maps, what I had to go through, the juggling of information, the comparison, all of this stuff that makes it so effective. And that is what I've realized recently. I've realized that I need to myself also focus on improving that process, and then also focus on teaching people the skills required to make the mind maps, rather than just teach you how to give you the steps for the mind mapping. So that is what I'll be trying to focus my videos on. And what we did today, this is the first skill that you need to get good at. Grouping related topics and learning them together. Comparing the differences and similarities between the aspects of each topic throughout. Give it a good try and understand that it will be uncomfortable and it'll take time, just like anything new that you'll have to try, but it will be very effective because you are actually doing something with your brain when you're reading there. You're comparing, you're doing something. So it's a very easy first step that I made a video about that I hope can actually help. If you are more advanced and you want to learn more about the mind mapping, or maybe you're just curious about how I do it, I'll link the full step-by-step method video here, and I'll link live videos of me making the mind maps for you as well, so you can see what the process involves, how long each step takes, etc. as well. It isn't about the full method, it is about the small changes that you are making day to day. So follow the small steps in this video, make the changes, and just watch how much in a few months or in a year from now, your study process will transform. Just watch. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, drop any comments that you have, any questions that you have. I'll try my best to get back to them, and I will see you in the next one.